Hello and welcome to another special edition of TV on TV. I'm State Representative Tommy Vitolo. You're watching Brookline Interactive Group, and we have another election special for you today. We're in election season, and that means we run the show a little bit differently. No news is good news. We don't have time for the news because we want to spend as much time as possible with the candidates. Today's candidate is school committee member and candidate Val Frias. And I'm going to tell you about that. But first, I want to frame the entire election. The election is Tuesday, May 6th. Our town election has competitive races for select board, for library trustee, and for school committee. There are 3 candidates for 1 select board seat. We've already run those interviews. You can find them on brooklineinteractive.org. There are 5 library trustee candidates for 4 library trustee seats. We've run those interviews as well. You can also find them on brooklineinteractive.org. There are, 6 school committee candidates for 3 seats. And we're running those now. We've got to run these episodes 2 days a week so we can get all of these candidates in time for the election, which is when? Say it with me, Tuesday, May 6th. Polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's early voting by mail. There's early voting by Dropbox. There's early voting in person. And I'm not going to give you any of those details. Go to your favorite search engine and look it up because the details vary day to day, very specific, and you got to make sure you get it right if you're going to use one of those options. There are also, of course, competitive races for town meeting in almost every precinct. So do your homework. I'm here to help. We give you the long form. We give you a nice bit of time with each candidate to really try and get to know them and hear a little more than a soundbite, hear really what's on their minds and what their priorities are. So again, today we have candidate and incumbent Val Frias for school committee. Val, thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me, Representative, and thank you to Big for hosting these events.
It's my pleasure. Please call me Tommy. And we start with the question we ask everybody. What have you been doing your whole life?
Well, I'll start a little bit closer in time and go backward. I am the mom of 2 ninth graders, 2 extremely different ninth graders. Those 2 boys started at Beat Potterham, moved to Driscoll, and are now in ninth grade. So I've had the full PSB experience with them and continue through the high school phase. And they're really the reason why I ran for school committee and why I'm running for reelection. Currently serve as an assistant attorney general. I'm the deputy director of the Elder Justice Unit, where we work to ensure that elders are protected in civil and criminal matters. Before that, I ran an elder nonprofit agency. I worked for both the federal and state government as an attorney and have led successful initiatives politically on the state and federal level and was a litigator in the early part of my career.
So, as I mentioned, you're an incumbent. You were first elected 3 years ago. You've done 1 full tour of duty on the school committee, which means you know what you're signing up for. Why do you want to do it again? It's a tough
Yeah,
job. It's not easy.
it's a really tough job, and that's exactly why I want to do it again. I think that I have the skill set. I think I have the temperament. I think I have the fiscal background, the leadership background, and quite frankly, the personal background. I'm the daughter of an immigrant, first to go to college in Massachusetts public schools, and then a private university here in Massachusetts for both undergrad and law school. And that experience growing up shaped certainly my view on public education and my commitment to public service. And it's no surprise to anybody that who's viewing this that we have some issues in PSB right now. We have the issues that are facing many municipalities in the state, which is Prop 2.5 and monies from COVID that have expired. So there are lots of districts facing fiscal challenges. We have some more unique leadership challenges. And I want to make sure that I'm a steady hand as we move into these next 3 years to stabilize our finances, our leadership, and that we have an open dialogue with the community about where we are and where we're going.
As you mentioned, folks who are attentive to local matters, whether or not they're specifically focused on schools or not, the budget gap
Yes.
has been, really driving Brookline news sales. I mean, people are buying it on every street corner. It's not for sale. People are reading Brookline news and they keep reading about this budget gap. It was initially reported as an $8 million budget gap, more or less. Can you first explain to people what a budget gap is? It's a specific thing. It's not a big idea. It's a very specific thing. And then kind of tell us, from your role on the school committee, what you've been doing to get your arms around it.
Sure. I mean, as you said, it's a pretty specific thing. It's not high finance, so hopefully, I can state it clearly for folks to understand. For us to roll forward our program from one year to the next, that requires more money, and the money that we're allotted from the town doesn't match what that program would cost for the fiscal year. This has happened in the past couple of years, and in order to make those two things match, what we want to do and the monies that we have available to us from local, state, and federal, we need to then reduce that gap and make some hard choices. And that's what we've been doing on school committee is making hard choices to bring those two in alignment to ensure that we're centering students. At least my personal value on this is to make sure that we're centering the student experience, that we're being fiscally responsible for all the town, and that we are ensuring that the academic experience in Brookline matches what people expect, what they want, and what we hope for our children and your neighbors' children.
Now, budget gap, in theory, there's two knobs to turn. There's receive more money, spend less money. Do you have access to both knobs on the school committee? How does that work?
I wish we had, access to a revenue knob that's slightly different than we have, but um, the feds are not giving us any more money. The state is certainly in a tighter spot after the election, the federal election, and is being a little bit looking at their purse a little bit more closely too, and that process is ongoing, as Tommy well knows. And on the local level, we have been able to very, very incrementally in small amounts um, increase our revenue simply by the maybe this is a little bit of high finance, but by the town um, looking at what actual local receipts are versus what they thought they would be a few months ago. So we have gotten a little bit more money just on a restatement from the town of where we actually are in March and April versus where it looked like we would be in November and December. So there's been a little bit of an uptick there. But primarily, this is really a closing of the gap piece with eliminating and looking to streamline programs for the district to ensure, again, my focus, that students are centered in the educational experience in PSB.
There's been conversation about an audit um, of public school finances in Brookline. I don't want to put too specific my hands around it, but what does that look like? And is that going to, find $3 million under the couch cushions or what?
You and I both wish that was the case. It's not going to be the case, but I do think this audit is going to be extremely helpful in looking at uh, the central office management practices, the fiscal practices, the work between the PSB staff and the town, the work within PSB department heads to ensure that we are engaging in best practices when we both are managing our money and collaborating interdepartmentally so that services are provided in the most efficient way, cost-effective way. I think all of those things will come out in this audit and it will hopefully restore some confidence in the PSB administration. Um, but no, I don't think there are going to be $3 million found under the couch. There may be a small amount of money that could be reallocated as a recommendation. So there may be some minor tweaks on this budget cycle, but I think by and large, what it's going to show us is a roadmap to better fiscal planning, understanding any issues that may come up earlier so that we can respond and talk about those in a way that really is going to impact future budgets in Brookline and restore some confidence, as I said, to leadership in the schools.
Now, the nine-person school committee serve as, in a sense, political leaders for the public schools, but you're not drawing up every line item of the budget, certainly. You review it, you're not creating it in the same way that you're not calling up principals and teachers and saying, hey, teach more of this, or maybe do a little bit less of that. You mentioned early in the conversation, you used the word leadership. And school committee aren't the only leaders of the public school system, obviously. Um, Give us your sense of how the town staff, the paid leadership, are they moving us in the right direction? Are there opportunities there? Where are they getting it right? How should we think about the superintendent, the fifth floor admin, principals, the leaders on the school side?
I think our building leaders, by and large, are getting it right. We don't hear many complaints from community members on their building leaders. Uh, when we do, they're very specific and are addressed. But on the fifth floor, we have certainly heard a lot of concern, and my experience of it is that it's a bit chaotic at the moment. There have been some comings and goings on the fifth floor in terms of deputy superintendents and leadership. And I really do think it's time for us to stabilize that ship and make sure that, again, going forward, that we have the right hands on the wheel and that we are really looking to both collaborate with our town partners, with our community partners to move the public schools of Brookline forward in a way that makes sense educationally, that makes sense fiscally, and that is communicated to the town because the town has about 20% of voters are parents, right? Our public school parents. The other 80% are not public school parents. So we need to make sure that we're communicating and collaborating with the entirety of Brookline so that they understand what the schools are doing, why, and can see value in that and understand that leadership is strong and is working for all residents of Brookline.
I want to pivot. You talked about making sure that as we address the budget cap, we're keeping students focused. So I want to talk about the student experience. At least 13 years of it. Yeah, throw in beep, it's even more, right? How should we be thinking about opportunities to improve or change the student experience in the near term? Right? What are we doing right and we want to keep? What can we improve? There might be some things where it's not a right or wrong. It's an educational philosophy. There are different ways to do it. Here's the Val Frias way, right? Let's talk student experience.
Thanks. Well, first of all, the way that students show up to school to learn, we need to make sure that we're covering that. We need to make sure that schools are supporting all students, regardless of their religion, their disability status, color of their skin, their gender. We need to make sure that we are welcome to all students in Brookline, and that's that's piece one, and that's the sort of environment piece that we need to make sure is there because a student can't learn if they don't feel safe. So ensuring that all students feel safe to be themselves and free of any sort of bias is sort of step one. Uh, we then need to focus on that great educational experience that brought folks to Brookline, and that starts in BEEP. I mean, BEEP is a renowned program for a reason, so we need to make sure that we're supporting that early ed piece where young people are really starting to develop those verbal skills, those social skills, all of that pre-literacy work that is so important as a building block to our K to 12 experience. And then, of course, we need to make sure that we are having opportunity and challenge for every student, and that looks different for every student. Some students need more support, and we need to make sure that we have programs that address that. And some students need more challenge, and we need to make sure that we have options to challenge our students as well. Our teachers are our greatest asset, and making sure that we have as many of them in classrooms as possible is um, both my focus on a policy level, but also in terms of where we put our dollars.
I think about, I have an eighth grader, so we're thinking about the high school, and it's so big. And, we get the course booklet, and there's so many courses, and it can feel a little overwhelming. Your parental experience is a year ahead of mine. You said you've got ninth graders. How do you, as a high school parent, this is sort of a high school specific question, how do you manage having your students, you have two of them, you said they're very different from each other, in such a big institution with so many opportunities? As a parent, sometimes that feels like there's so many opportunities for them to do great things. There's also so many opportunities for them to get lost or to end up in the wrong place. Just the emails. How do you manage as a parent? This is really a parent question. How do you manage all of this? It just feels so overwhelming for me.
It certainly is a lot, and yes, two different learners, two different sort of social interests, and the high school does a good job of getting emails out, and they'll sort of point out when it's an important one to pay attention to, and the schedule in and of itself for that staff to create is like working some sort of puzzle. Uh, but the high school does have something for everyone. As I like to say. And I have one student, one of my kids is an artist and has been able to take, as a freshman, some really interesting graphic design and animation courses. And that really feeds him and motivates him to work on subjects that are maybe less interesting to him. And there's the support for that, and there's the again, the challenge piece is that he's able to really do well and enjoy these art classes and English classes. And my other son is very social and is much more interested in the social pieces of school. And so I think that the school really has a great balance of opportunities. And on the academic side, I just want to again reiterate that I think that that opportunity and um, challenge and support are all sort of a three-legged stool for that academic piece. And so we need to make sure that we have rigor, and rigor means something different for each of our students. It means challenging them to their full potential. And that looks different for someone who is maybe able to take two APs in science and wants to do that and is motivated to do that, or someone who's really struggling in algebra and needs the support to succeed in that subject.
I want to pivot. Nationally, it feels a lot different than in 2024. The president is openly arguing to eliminate the Department of Education. How does the both uncertainty and sort of dramatic changes in the federal government, how does that roll down to Brookline and impact our public schools and your work on the school committee?
Right now, it feels more like something that's threatening than here, but I think we need to prepare for it. Certainly, there are threats to the state level um, and other municipalities. So not very long ago, a few days um, before now, the Secretary of Education pulled money that was slated to be spent by next year from several municipalities in Massachusetts. They'd planned on it, they'd confirmed that they had this school year and a bit of next to spend it, and then they got a notice that it was simply being clawed back. These are the poorest districts in Massachusetts, and they lost millions and millions of dollars. Um, that that threat is real, that threat is going to roll down to the state. If the state loses money, federal money for other programs, it's going to squeeze what they're able to afford to give municipalities for local aid for schools and town services. So we need to watch that. In terms of this dismantling of the Department of Education, we had issues that were sent along to the Boston office of DOE. Um, the folks who work there were simply told, go home, leave your files. So there are things that we literally don't know the status of because they're in a file somewhere at the Boston office of DOE. So there's a real impact to this. There's a new threat on the table of cities and towns losing funds if they don't certify that we're going to comply with banning completely, without a definition, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. In my mind, what we have here in Brookline is so special and unique. We have things like the Calculus Project. We have things like Scholars. We have all of our affinity spaces for Jewish students and LGBTQ students and Black students and Latino students and AAPI students. And if this truly means that we can't hold space to make sure that everybody um, feels heard and seen in the schoolwork that they're doing and is supported, where there's a clear gap, like in the Calculus Project or in the Scholars Program, I think we're in real trouble. And we need to look at that in Brookline. We need to make sure that we are buttressing that federal money. And thankfully, in Brookline, the amount of Title I money that we get is not as significant in our budget as it is in, say, gateway cities here in Massachusetts, but it's not nothing. So, yeah, there's a potential impact, and we're trying to plan for it as best as possible. And it's why we've been really tightening our belt and looking at central admin first in terms of those positions to close that budget gap and to ensure that we have some fiscal responsibility here at the local level, and that we're insulating ourselves as best we can from the federal cuts and program requirements.
You're not just a school committee member, you're also a candidate. It's election season. That means you're running a campaign. You got a website, www.valfrias.com, VALFRIAS.com. How's the campaign running?
It's going well. I'm able to talk to a lot of voters. I'm getting out in the community, to all parts of Brookline, and engaging with um, voters and young people to talk about their concerns, their hopes, what they want to see in PSB, and that's a really invigorating campaigns for me are really invigorating because it's really a way to get out with all these opportunities with forums and with other events. I'm going to be biking in a few days with biking Brookline across Brookline, and able to talk with different voters, and so it's a really energizing time to be able to hear people's um, both their worry but also their hope for the schools. So I love campaigns. I was a competitive athlete, so I love campaigns. I love all the aspects of campaigns.
Well, I wish you the best of luck on your campaign. Folks, as we mentioned, the election is Tuesday, May 6th. Polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Competitive races for select board, library trustee, school committee, and most town meeting races. We get the government we deserve. We get it by voting for the candidates who we think will best represent our interests, our vision, um, our desires. And so you can be part of the solution or you can be part of the problem. You can vote or not. Voting is not the only way you can participate in an election. If you have the franchise, I hope you use it. Even if you don't have the right to vote for any number of reasons, you can still participate in our elections. You can still find a candidate you like and help them with their campaign. If you are in the United States legally and 18 and up, you can make a financial contribution. You can talk to your friends and neighbors about the candidates who you hope to get elected, or the ones you hope don't. There's loads of ways to participate in our elections, and the more people who do, and who do it with enthusiasm and integrity, the better. So I hope that you will do that. Again, Tuesday, May 6th is the election. I'm going to be on TV bringing in candidates. We want you to get to know them and follow up. Go to valfrias.com, for example. I'm sure there's a contact button. I'm sure you could fire away a question or otherwise engage with Val. Val, thanks for being on the show. Folks, you've been watching TV on TV here on Brookline Interactive Group, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We hope we'll see you on Tuesday, May 6th, Election Day. Until then, see you around.
Roger, 0J, and I feel fine. Lift off and the clock has started. That's one.